Hey Warrior Goddess Garden, Carrie Starr here, and this is where we turn pain into growth, power, and beauty like a beloved garden. And today's video is on living in our current truth. And the question that was asked of me to speak about was, what happens when we deny our truth? What does that look like in our life? And how does it affect us? If you are new to the channel, welcome. I'm so excited that you're here, and I encourage you subscribe and like the video if it resonates with you. And if you do subscribe, let me know in the comments that you're subscribing and I will personally respond back. I love communicating with you all. So, what happens when we deny our truth? As you know, I often come to you and talk about things that that I've lived through, because I feel like storytelling is a fantastic way to bring together components of going through something painful and how it leads to growth, power, and then becoming something beautiful. And so I would love to share a story about a way in which I denied my truth for years and what manifested from that. Let me know what you think in the comments. So I grew up in the church. I went to Sunday school, I went to church. I really enjoyed it as a young girl, and then a teenager, and a little bit into my young adulthood. I was very involved in church, and I was very involved in having a relationship with spirit, but then being, having a relationship within religion. And so part of that belief was the belief that being anything but heterosexual was wrong or an abomination or a sin in the eyes of God. I grew up with that stigma. I grew up with that set of beliefs, and that's what I believed. And so much so that even as I was raising my daughter, I gave her and I explained to her that belief as well while she was a young person. Fast forward a few years, and I started to really search my heart and really get in touch with who I am and where my truth is and what do I actually believe. And as I started to do that in my 20s, I stopped going to church. I started making different friends because different truths were being revealed to me, and I was choosing to believe something different than I had always believed growing up. We've talked about truth and truths we choose to believe and how that evolves over time, and how really in multi-dimensional vision and observation of all that is, everything is truth. It just depends on your vibration and where you're looking at it from. And so as I began to go into my own spiral, right, I began to go deeper into a different truth, and I began my, my awakening process for my own life. What I noticed was that there was a lot of truths that I wasn't living, and truths that I was denying in my own life. And it's no mistake that I'm coughing right now, because I still hold on. I still can feel some of those old paradigms, some of those old constructs not wanting to be spoken of and not wanting to be talked about. And I'm gonna let those go, because I want no part of that, and I want to lead us and talk about things that are tough. And so part of what happens when we deny our truth is we deny part of who we are. And as I went into my 20s and then went into my 30s, and I became more and more authentic, and I started to see that the way I was living wasn't working for me, and the ways in which I observed that it wasn't working for me was my health was being affected. I was experiencing depression. I was experiencing anxiety. I was experiencing insomnia. There were many truths that I was not speaking that were part of who I was and part of my heart and part of my path in this lifetime that I was not claiming and I was not owning. And with every step I took on my journey, the more that I didn't claim who I was and the more that I chose to hide who I was and hide who I was becoming and hide what was emerging within me, within my spirit, within my heart, the more I had symptoms of depression and the more I had anxiety and the more trouble I had sleeping and the more I was disconnected from friends. And, you know, some of that too was happening because I was really taking time to go inward. And so, you know, there's nothing wrong with taking time, a lot of time in quiet to really figure it out. Maybe it takes years, maybe it takes months. It's different for each person. And I was choosing to believe something different than I grew up believing. And so as I, you know, journeyed and I started to look at that issue of heterosexual, you know, versus being queer, versus having different types of relationships as an adult, what really became true for me was the fact that I love heterosexuality, but I also am queer. And it took me many, many, many years to own that. And it was a tough one for me to own because of the programming that I endured in church. And it's still hard for me to talk about. It still is, because it's still stigmatized, it's judged, it's ridiculed, you know, and it's no mistake that my throat started acting up when I was making this video. It's still hard to talk about, but I want to talk about it anyway because it's true for me. It's still true. And what stuns me more than anything is that people have the audacity to say that it's anything other than beautiful. That still stuns me, honestly. We were made divine, and we are made with love and in love, and nothing about being heterosexual or homosexual or bisexual is wrong. It's all just different ways of being on this earth, this time, you know, that we came for this journey. And so that was a truth that took me a decade and a half to own, because it was hidden under so many layers of fear and judgment and shame. You know, I had to really look at all of that. And as I taught one of my children that was not okay, what was really happening and what truly happens when we deny our truth is that we're denying part of who we are. And what often happens is we judge it in another. So I remember saying, no, you know, homosexuality is not okay. It's wrong. And I taught my daughter that. And years later, I had to come to her and have a lot more talks about it and talk about my life and my journey and you know, why I said the things things I did and why I'm saying something different. We learn, we move forward, we grow forward, we change, our truths change. And so denying the truth keeps us playing small, and it keeps us really stagnant, and stagnation in life is a really boring life. It's a really boring life, and it is not a life full of purpose and passion. If you want a life full of purpose and passion, you are not stagnant. You are moving forward. You are creating new opportunities. You are letting go of fear. You're burning off fear, and you're saying yes to something new. That's part of stepping into your truth, saying yes to something new. So for me, when I was in denial of my truth, it manifested in ways where I felt disconnected from my partner. I felt disconnected from my family. I felt disconnected from my friendships because I held the belief that if I was honest about who I was, they would reject me. And that was a belief I chose to believe. That doesn't mean that it was true. That doesn't mean that they would reject me. That was a belief that I held. And part of it I held because part of why we deny our own personal truth is fear. And you'll hear me talk about this again and again and again because it's one of the biggest lessons of our lives. When we become authentic, it's shedding layers and layers and layers of fear. Not just personal fear, but collective fear, karmic fear, cellular fear that we hold, these codes that we hold, these programs that we have in our bodies that are begging for us to break free of. That fear holds us back. And sometimes it takes really, really hitting rock bottom before we're ready to say, this is what's going on with me. This is who I actually am. This is how I want to live my life. And it can be so profound. And so the fact that I'm sitting in front of you, having started a business where I got a garden, and I'm starting my YouTube channel now and speaking out in big ways. The irony of it is not lost on me. If you would have said to 20-year-old Carrie, hey, in your 40s, you're going to get to the point where you're so done with being afraid and you're ready to step in the gifts that you were meant to on earth this lifetime, and you're just going to go for it, and you're just done with being afraid of it. You're going to speak your truth, you're going to be authentic, you're going to be yourself, and you're going to talk about it, and you're going to unshackle your throat, you're going to unshackle your voice, and you are going to speak, and people will listen because it resonates. If you would have told 20-year-old Carrie that, I would have been stunned. I would have been stunned into silence because I would have been so filled with fear of what would everybody else in my life think of me. I was really invested in that. I was really invested in what did they think of me? Are they going to like me? Will I be accepted? It's the proverbial, am I going to be kicked out of the group? Am I going to be kicked out of the clan? Nobody wants to be kicked out of their tribe. Nobody. It's a human need. We have a human need to belong, right? It is a fundamental human need. We want to belong. We want to be loved. We want to be understood. We desire to be accepted. There's nothing wrong with that. But the fear of not having that, was so profound in my life. And I can sit here now, Carrie Starr, a woman in her 40s, and I can create a video on what happens when we deny our truth because I've lived it. And as I go down my path, I may live it again. I may need to own up to something that is becoming true for me, and I'm going to speak on it. Just like I've been sharing these last month or two about the Arcturian Council. I've known I could channel the Arcturian Council for the last 10 months, but I was too afraid because I wasn't yet comfortable in it myself. And so that's where it's this beautiful, gentle dance of, this is who I'm becoming. You know, I'm developing, I'm changing, I'm walking down my path, I'm walking my spiral, right? And then it allows us to, this is who I'm becoming, and this is what is in my life that might need to be let go of. I might need to, as I walk down this path, this part may fade away. And that scares us. And I get it. Part of what was becoming very true for me as I journeyed down my path is that I appreciated learning about God, and I had a very, very personal, rich relationship with consciousness, with spirit, with the Christ source, with the oversoul, whatever name you love. I had a very rich relationship with God, but I no longer felt connected to religion at all. And as I was going down my path, I was really, interested in esoteric studies, mystery schools, healing, gardening, how do we heal from the earth and with the earth. Really interested in ancient Chinese energetic medicine, really interested in shamanic medicine, indigenous cultures around the world, and how do they heal? How do the tribes heal? What is the ancient wisdom of healing our bodies? Because I felt such an enormous disconnect in the way that we live in Western culture here in the States, and what felt true in my cells, what felt true in my spirit about what I already knew about healing that I couldn't understand, and very little of what I grew up with in the church resonated anymore. I felt grateful for it, and I love it, and if you are part of church and you love church, I love that for you. That's awesome. I am not bashing church. This is just part of my growth and my story. I felt like it was an important part, and I'm grateful for it. And then I kept growing through it, and I kept on my journey and this great, beautiful spiral. And for me, the story I've shared about my journey with you, when I was denying my truth, it looked a lot like disconnected relationships, markers of depression, anxiety, low grade but anxious, withdrawing from people that I had been friends with because I felt like they wouldn't understand and they wouldn't get me. And part of that I was very, very right, because most of them are not a part of my life any longer. If I look at the relationships I had in my 30s, I have 2 people in my life from then that are still in my life on a somewhat regular basis. So when we deny the truth, it fractures, and it fractures our connectedness to one another, our connectedness to the people in our life. So if this is you and you feel as though you were called to watch this video, one of the bravest things I did was kept walking forward anyway, because I knew that the life that I was living, shrouded in fear, afraid to be authentic and afraid to be who I actually wasn't really a life worth living. And there were times that I had contemplated suicide because of it. And so now, fast forward to Carrie in her 40s, talking to you right now, I am so filled with vitality and joy and harmony and just utter freaking excitement and jubilation for my life. I am so in love with my life. I love that I'm talking to you right now on YouTube, and I'm touching your heart in a way. This is what I was made for. I was made for this. And it took me going through some real darkness and owning my truths to get here. And it was worth it. It was so freaking worth it, because now I have people in my life who understand me, who love me, who get me. And the ones that don't, or the ones that couldn't, or the ones that wouldn't, they just reverberate away. And that is okay. We all have different paths. We don't need everyone to go with us. I encourage you so deeply to start stepping into what your truth is. And if you want to reach out to me, please do. I'll have my website up soon. That will be in the comments for one-to-one intuitive coaching. And if you'd like to have a session with me, I would love to have a session with you. It is my passion and my purpose here on earth to work with people who are in pain points, who want to move forward and grow, and to step into their power, step into their truths, and turn their life into something really beautiful that they feel proud of. I love doing that with individuals. And yeah, I would love to hear from you. What is something that scares you? What is a truth that you are holding back on that you maybe want to be really brave and share with us in the comments about? You know, mine was starting to realize that, you know, everything talked to me. Like, everything has a spirit, everything is alive, and I could hear it. Well, people start to wonder, like, what are you talking about, right? Like, that was something that, a small truth that I was afraid to step into. So I've shared some with you. I would love to hear what yours are. I'd love for you to subscribe so you get the notifications each time I create a video. I'm creating videos every single week, 2 to 3 times a week. And if you subscribe, let me know in the comments, and I will send you a message back. All right, until next time, so love to you.